welcome back to Hasbro's Hide. We have a fairly crowded bench, but I want to show you the combination of what we're going to shoot today before we set up to load this. This is our 556 bulk series, and so the whole intent of this is try to find loads that are fairly economical to shoot, that we can still get reasonably good accuracy, not just sort of spray and pray, or I can only shoot steel with it, right? I want to be able to shoot competitively with these. And that's the goal. And so the last time we shot Lake City 55 grain bullets, bulk bullets, versus Lightning 55 grain bulk bullets. And Lightning was clearly the winner. And that was with tack powder. And you can go back and see that video if you haven't, if you want to. But in this case, now we're going to shoot AR comp. Now, I've not shot AR comp in 556 or 223. I've only shot this in 6.5 Grendel. So this will be a new one. But Hornady lists it in their book, and they have a maximum of 24.4 grains. So we're going to start from there and work our way down. So on the low end, we'll be at 23.3 grains, and then we're going to go up to 23.5, again up to 23.8, 24.1, and then we're going to stop at our maximum of 24.4 grains. All this is going to be done with the exact same brass that we used last time, and this is Lake City, twice fired. You know, it's been annealed, cleaned, trimmed, deburred, chamfered, and then primed with Remington 7.5 bench rest primers. So it's exactly the same, and the reason it's exactly the same as last one is because I loaded up a bunch of these cases in bulk so I could just load whenever I wanted, and I put them in a storage container with desiccant to keep them perfectly ready to go. And so we can just grab the cases and start working on our powder and our seating of our bullets. So should be fun. Anxious to see how Bob's bulk bullets do, because it's just a lot of cool work again by Johnny and his site there. I'm anxious to see how well they do. So let's get set up and start weighing our powder. Before we load our powder, I thought we'd take a look real quick using our Technally microscope up close at the bullets. And so on the left here is our Lightning bullet, on the right is the Bob's bulk bullets. Again, you see a difference in the color. The Lightning is a shinier, color. I don't know if it's an alloy difference. These are both, new shipments, relatively speaking. But anyway, there's a difference in the color. The cannelures, you can see, are considerably different. The Lightning have a very heavy crimped in canneler, and the Bob's bullets are in fact very, very light. It's there, but it's very, very light. The key thing is the top of the canneler appears to be about the same location, so if we're visually seating our bullets and all, we're going to be able to see that the lip then is referencing this at about the same position. So that'll be good. You can see the nose profile of the bullet is considerably different, much more blunt, rounded nose here on the Lightning, and a longer tapered nose on the Bob's bulk bullets. That will in effect push the ogive back. And so the ogive, I don't know how well you can see this, is maybe roughly about right here on Bob's, but it's more like here on the Lightning. So the Lightning is pushed farther forward. So that's when we do cartridge-based ogive, the Lightning should show a longer value. Overall then, the tapers at the base are different. The Bob's has a very slight taper. It's there, but there's not a big taper. Much more pronounced taper than here on the Lightning bullet. So anyway, I thought you'd like to see that, just see the differences. I think it helps to sort of understand the intents of these bullets. This one will probably fly a little farther, a little lower drag. But this one proved more accurate the last time against a similar profile bullet. But, I'm sure if I put the Lake City up here, we would find differences as well. So anyway, just a quick check, and let's get on to loading our powder. All right, now we're moving on to loading our powder. What you don't always see is that I load some ciders, and that's what I'm doing now. I'll load those at the lowest charge rate of 23.1, in fact 23.2 grains is what we're going to load those to. So I'll finish loading those up, but then we just simply proceed here in pairs. We'll do 23.2, 2 sets, and then the same thing, working ourselves up. So 10 rounds of each one, and then we'll load alternating bullets through these and be able to track them that way. This is kind of a long, tedious process, so I won't show this whole thing, but if you haven't seen the videos, what we do is we'll throw 10th of grain low with the RCBS Chargemaster Light, and then come back to a couple different scales. I'm using Maxis Dantes now, side by side. These are plugged into the battery converters, so you don't have to worry about battery voltage fluctuating. It's nice and steady. And I just check them against each other to make sure we don't get scale drift, which happens with electronic scales. So anyway, we're good. Everything's looking good. I'm going to continue this on, and then we'll start seating our bullets. All right, now we're seating our bullets. I just start here with the lightning bullets, and it'll be the same process for the Bob's bulk bullets. What we do is seat them, and I've adjusted these. I said I was going to do them to 2.250. Instead, I'm doing a 2.235, and the reason for that is trying to get enough of a bullet in the neck to make sure we can hold the bullet properly, and when we do a very light crimp with our leaf vector crimp die, we have something to crimp into. So we're just exactly right at the top of that cantilever. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's very, very close. And we'll come back up here on our number, and we're on 2.235. That was just a little bit short, so let's back this up just a little bit, just a couple thousand. But again, the first ones I always check this on are our cider rounds, and unless they're really, really far off, I don't bother to dial them in with a couple thousands. But the rest of these will be plus or minus a thousand or two in that range, something like that. And of course, you know, the bullets are varying all over it, but you see then 2.235 on the money. And so we'll finish seating these bullets, and then we'll see at the range. Now, one other thing you might notice, and sorry for this in the middle of the scene here, but I had, in the channel update, I had mentioned that I'd had a problem with my hand. Well, it ends up being the problem was a torn tendon. So the tendon that goes from here up to the front of your finger ripped apart. And so I have to hold this in this special kind of cast that's held on here for 8 weeks. And so it'll be annoying. Doesn't affect the trigger finger again, but if you see that flashing through the video, that's what that's all about. All right, so we'll finish seating these bullets, and we'll see you at the range. Well, that's about as bad as it gets. Right off the bat, this other bullet does better. Bullet. All right, welcome back in from the range, and just sort of taking a quick look at our brass. There's really not much to see here. So we've started with our AR comp, and both these. This is the lightning bullet to here, and then the Bob's bulk bullets from here. But it's the same changes in powder. So 23.2 on the low end, up to 24.4 on the high end, which is the Hornady book maximum. There really is no pressure signs here. There's no cratering. The primers are all nice and rounded. They're not flat, and there really are no marks on our brass from ejector or extractor marks. Some very shiny, just very shiny, slightly shiny marks here on some of these, but it's not like the extractor is digging in or anything, so I really don't think this is much to see. So overall, our brass is looking really good. But let's take a look at our targets. It's a tale of two bullets for sure. As I mentioned, this is definitely a tale of two bullets. Now the powder is exactly the same, measured very accurately. Our standard deviations, etc., are really small. I'll list those after this section, all the stats on these things. But in general, as far as the charge weights, etc., they're under pretty good control. But Lightning certainly did not like this powder. Lightning was really good with tack overall, not bad at all. But yeah, you wouldn't think so. This is as bad as the Lake City bulk ammo, or bulk bullets that I had shot before in the last video. These are really horrible groups. So this first one, to give you an idea, is a 4.2 MOA group. This one, oh, it's better, 4.1. We get down here, it's really hard to measure. I had to go back to the video to find out where they were hitting. And this is 4.253. This one, I couldn't even tell. The bullets were flying so far off. And then finally our last one, this was the cider target. Our last one down here, again, is another 4.13 MOA. So yeah, Lightning, I think it's still a great bullet. It worked well with tack. We'll continue to shoot it and compare it. But yeah, with this powder, really bad. So let's take a look at Bob's. All right, taking a look at our Bob's target now. You mentioned a tail of two bullets. Look at the difference on this target. I apologize on the range video because all I got of this whole target was this last group. And this is a good group, but holy cow, I missed a lot of information on the video. So unfortunately, you'll have to trust me. This really was shot here. You could hear the audio, but I clipped it because I had left the camera zoomed in on the top target like an idiot. And the reason being is I saw this group and it was like so much better than anything we saw with the Lightning. I thought, wow, there's actually some hope for this powder and a 55 grain bullet. And so I kept going until I got to here and I realized, oh man, I had the camera up above. So I'm sorry about that, but anyway, let's take a look at the results on this target because they're just amazing. So we went from shooting 4.13 was the last one on the Lightning to 1.549 MOA. It's just like, whoa, what happened? It's just the bullet change. Same exact powder, same brass, same primer, and really careful loads. And that's what we get. Well, the very next one, it tightened up a lot more. So now we have 0.797 MOA. And there's 3 through the same hole and 2 down here. It's like, wow, that's good. That's hopeful. For a bulk bullet, I'd be happy with that every day. But then look at what happened here. 0.406 MOA with the 55 grain bulk bullet. And that happens to be our 23.8 grain charge of AR comp. So 23.8 grains in the Lake City 18 with a Remington 7.5 bench rest primer. And they were seated, let's see, what are they, 2.235, and the ogive, the cartridge-based ogive was 1.8655. And so it just gives you the numbers if somebody wants to play with this, but be careful because, you know, taking some idiot's recommendations off YouTube on loads, be careful. But look at that group. 0.406 out of a 55 grain bullet, first of all, because I've been able to shoot close to these. 0.42 is the best with a 77 grain CR Match Kings, and we've beaten the best with that so far. I may have to try the Match Kings with this bullet now too, with this powder, and now as well. But it's just amazing. There's 2 here, 1, 2, and 3 there. Just, I mean, at 100 yards, that's awesome. And it's just amazing, amazing result. Well, we carried on then and we shot 1.381 MOA here. And that's just because I had 1 go up. And when I shot this, I yelled at myself on the video because I did that. Purely I did that. So this thing was, again, trying to group in a nice, tight, small group. And the jerk behind the trigger got his revenge on that one. Well, then we finish up the last target here, which was on the video, and that's a 0.836 MOA. Again, a really good 3 in 1 hole, literally raggedy 1 hole, and then we have 2 more down below. So Bob's bulk bullets. I tell you what, with AR comp, this is a beautiful thing. And so we'd have to explore a little bit more around this node here that's in this area, because you'd like to see if it's real sensitive or not, and if we can hold this. But certainly, I mean, at a magazine length load, standard, inexpensive 55 grain bullet, way to go, Bob's. I mean, I can't hardly say enough. That's just an amazing result. So way to go, Bobs. Now, one other thing you might explain why this is such a difference between the two bullets with the exact same powder. So if you measure, remember I showed you the profiles on the close-up pictures, and I mentioned that the Lightning had a different profile where that ogive would be pushed farther forward. Well, in fact, it was. If you look at cartridge-based ogive, that is, the Lightning is a 1.898, okay? If you look at Bob's, because it's much more tapered and that ogive is farther back, 1.8655. And so probably more than the actual bullet design as much as, well, it's really the design affecting it, but is that final jump to the lens. Boy, that Lightning doesn't like this powder at that jump, because there's a what is that, 32.5 thousandths difference from the design of the bullet on how much closer the Lightning is to the lens and how much farther back than Bob's is. And Bob's being much more tapered, maybe as it, you know, it's jumping, right? So it's got to line itself up and get into those lands. There's always some error from that, right? Maybe that shape just guides it into those lands and down the bore better. For sure, there's a difference. So I would imagine I can get AR comp to shoot well with the Lightning again by adjusting the overall length. In this case, going shorter. And maybe I'll do that as a test here in the future. We'll make some rounds of Lightning and we'll shorten them up 30 thousandths. That'll be a pretty, it was already fairly full case, so we might get a little compressed there, but I think it's worth trying and see what happens. But anyway, amazing results. And I'll show you the stats here again right after this. I'll put in some of the velocity data from our lab radar. But it's just a beautiful thing when you can shoot a group like that, especially with an inexpensive bullet, and about as cheap a round as you can load right now. So amazing results. Hope you liked it. If you do, subscribe.